Many of the rocks that slide off these peaks are carted away to the valleys by the great alpine glaciers. Today, as the earth warms, glaciers melt faster than they can be replenished. At this rate, even the largest alpine glaciers will shrink to small fragments by the end of this century.
To drive this point home, Professor Messerly showed me the Alps Glacier, which has retreated 2 miles since 1850.
It is the longest glacier of the Alps, not only of Switzerland, yes. And it is longer than all the glaciers around Mount Everest. Really? 23 kilometers here, you know.
And if the glacier was all the way down here 150 years ago, and now it's up there, is it retreating even faster now than it was then?
Yes, we are worried about it. Glaciers have always gone through cycles. Each time they advanced, glaciers helped reshape the Alps. Years like that, but they are always changing even today. But look, if we have something like today, throughout the Alps, the Ice Age has left its mark. Although glaciers never touched this ridge, they carved away its base on both sides. Pulled down by gravity and erosion, that rock fell off, leaving this Fraser's edge.
Glaciers can carve away the base of a mountain, leaving a single jagged peak called a horn. The most famous such peak is the Matterhorn.
A million years ago, the mountain was broader. But during the Ice Age, each time the glaciers advanced, they kept grinding downhill, scooping out, and gradually whittling away its base. Each receding glacier left steeper cliffs below and precarious unsupported rock above, which collapsed under its own weight. Throughout the Ice Age, the cycle was repeated until all that was left was a sharp, towering horn of rock.
At 14,730 feet, this dramatic icon straddles the border between Italy and Switzerland.
Dad always promised that he and I would climb the Matterhorn together. We never got the chance, but I've climbed it twice.
So this is where Whymper stayed, huh?
Edward Whymper was the first to climb the Matterhorn in 1865, setting out from the village of Zermatt.
The Italians were going up and he had to race them to the top, and so he set off from here for the final successful climb.
The Matterhorn was the last great unclimbed mountain in the Alps. For their first attempt, they kept trying from the Italian side because it looks easier from a distance, but in fact the way the geology of the mountain goes, the holds are much more in-cut and easier to use on the Swiss side.
Whymper's team made it to the top, the first ever to stand on this summit. But on the descent, the rope broke. Only Whymper and 2 of his companions survived. Many thousands of people come to the Matterhorn each winter for one thing: snow.
I study snow to understand the fundamental processes that can lead to large avalanches.
My friend Chris Pielmeyer is a scientist at a Swiss Institute for Avalanche Research.
There goes the avalanche. It's not just skiers who are at risk. In one recent winter in the Alps, avalanches killed 42 people in villages. By redirecting the wind flow, these small and innovative structures keep snowdrifts from accumulating. You can't stop the full force of a big avalanche once it gets sliding. You actually have to prevent it from sliding in the first place. The snowpack consists of many layers held in place by millions of tiny little bonds between the snow crystals.
By probing the density of each layer, Chris can test the stability of the snowpack.
The crystals constantly change, so one layer that was stable could become very weak, and a weak layer could become strong in time.
That weak joint can later fail and produce an avalanche.
We trigger avalanches to get information. In the slide path, we have geophones. We measure the pressure, the speed. You only know how powerful it is when you have once measured it.
In 1966, this lonely old hotel at the foot of the Eiger was the base of operations for Dad's final attempt. A journalist stood here on the terrace and watched through a telescope as Dad fell to his death. Now, this hotel will be our home for a week or a month, whatever it takes. The Eiger has the worst weather in the Alps. The north face of the Eiger plummets non-stop for over a mile, the tallest and the most treacherous wall of rock in Europe. It's a huge, steep face of loose and crumbling limestone, a shooting gallery of falling rock. Even a pebble can kill you. When it snows, avalanches can knock you off the wall. But still, we plan to climb when it's cold, because there's less rockfall. The ice and snow lock the loose rock into place. The summit of the Eiger stands just over 13,000 feet high. Dad was the first American ever to climb the north face of the Eiger. 4 years later, he set out to climb the Eiger again, this time by a radical new route, straight up the face. When yet another blizzard hit, Dad and his two teammates were trapped halfway up the mountain at a place called the Death Bivouac. Their ropes were suffering from wear and tear. For nearly 2 weeks, they lived in a snow cave. When they got a lull in the storm, they decided to make a final push for the summit. Dad was going up a rope. They noticed that the ropes were frayed, but his teammate thought the rope would hold. Dad's teammates completed the climb. They named it in his honor, the John Harlan Route. I intend to come back from every climb. There's no summit, there's no climb that's worth dying for me.
John's very tense about this climb. It's a dangerous face. Is it worth the risk? John cares very much that his daughter grows up with him.
Oh, there.
The key to climbing safely is being methodical.
I think it's something that John needs to do. I trust that it's important enough to risk what he has. He knows what he has, and he would only do something like this if it were that important to him. He's going to have to work very hard to shut out all the thoughts that will undoubtedly be creeping through his mind. And I think when he reaches the point where his father fell, that is going to be a very emotional moment for him.
Be careful. Everything will be fine. We waited for perfect conditions. Great.
I love you.
You too. Bye. Okay.
Starting the climb was almost like entering a trance. I was entering this world of a dream that I'd had for so many years, and now I was finally living it. I've waited 40 years to set foot on the Eiger, but for the next 3 days, I need to put my emotions on hold and try to treat this like any other climb. Robert was the first person to tell me that the Eiger was his favorite mountain, a place that was a part of his heart and soul. And the only other person I knew who felt that way was my father.
There's a little diagonal that goes to the right. And Daddy's wearing a yellow jacket. I don't see. No, keep looking a little closer.
The Eiger is the tallest face in the Alps, and it's over a mile high, and when you start up it, you see it's a mile high. This is a 3-day climb. My back is already really hurting me.
When I got to the bivouac and opened my pack, I found a note from my ladies.
Dearest John, embrace this experience. Think one step at a time, and remember that we are with you at all times. I love you, Adele. I love you too.